Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson, his family confirming the two-time Democratic presidential candidate died this morning at the age of 84. Releasing a statement, here's what it says in part, quote, "Our father was a servant leader not only for our family, but the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. We shared him with the world, and in return, the world became part of our extended family. His unwavering belief in justice, equality, and love uplifted millions, and we ask you to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by." Joining us now is Pastor Joe Watkins, the host of State of Independence and a former Bush aide. Pastor, thank you. And Ken Timmerman is here, the author of Shakedown, Exposing the Real Jesse Jackson. Thank you for coming on. Pastor, let me start with you. How are you remembering the late Reverend Jesse Jackson this morning?
Well, my condolences, of course, go to his family. I knew him, I met him in the 1980s when I was an aide to U.S. Senator Dan Quayle. And then, of course, I interfaced with him when I worked at the White House on President Bush's staff. And then I was a host for a little while in a show called Crossfire on CNN, and Jesse was one of our guests. I gave him a hard time, but he was one of our guests, and he took it pretty well, but he was one of our guests on the show. So I got to know him a little bit. And I know President Trump and he had actually a good relationship. The president had been very kind and had given his organization some space in one of his buildings, I think back in the 1980s. So the president also remembers him, I know, very, very kindly.
The president wrote on Truth Social about the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson, and it was long, but all good things. Here's just a quote here from it. "The Reverend Jesse Jackson is dead at 84. I knew him well long before becoming president. He was a good man with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. He was very gregarious, someone who truly loved people," and he goes on in it. That from the president weighing in this morning upon finding out the news. Ken, your reaction this morning?
Well, I think all of that's true. He did love people, but he also leaves a very checkered past. I never thought I would write a book about Jesse Jackson. I started off in 2001. I was actually approached by a black pastor in Virginia who came to me and said, "Oh, well, you know about Noah Robertson, Jesse Jackson's half-brother. He's in jail on a life sentence for terrorism charges." And I said, "What? I'd never heard of this man before." And that kind of piqued my interest, and I started to investigate Reverend Jackson. I went to Chicago many times to meet with him, and I will say he was always generous with his time, and he did not hesitate to talk about his brother, who he thought was a fallen soul, who had his problems with the law. And Jesse also had his problems with the law early on with the street gangs in Chicago. It's a side of him that has not been told, or had not been told before. Barbara Reynolds, a black reporter in Chicago, wrote about it in 1975. I kind of picked up where she left off.
You know, Pastor, getting back to the divide that you've seen in this nation with politics, and it really is radioactive at both sides, in having difficulty coming together. Are there things that you could take away from the civil rights leader, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, that you could apply to today? Was he able to talk across the aisle? Are there parts of what he said and things that he led for the past several decades that can be taken moving forward, putting politics aside, I guess is my point?
Yeah, putting politics aside, you know, I was grateful for the things that he said that brought people together and that encouraged people who were having a hard time. He was very, very good at that. And used to lead, of course, big groups, and then would encourage the people who were kind of down on their luck. You know, the people who were homeless and people who were discouraged. I thought that was a wonderful thing that he was able to do. And of course, you know, Democrats, Republicans, I'm a Republican. You know, we have differences in terms of policy issues and how things might be done, how we arrived at a place where we're all good, where this country is great. But that being said, I think he did his best to help make this country a better place in which to live. He made mistakes, obviously, but I think he did his best to try to make this a better place.
Information. Truth is freedom. is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.